Let's start. Thank you. Okay, we're going to start this afternoon. I believe we're the last hearing, and I would like to read a protocol for you and let the record reflect that it is read. The legislative public hearing on block grants is hereby called to order. First, let me introduce myself. I am Senator Renee Unterman. I represent the people of District 45. Sitting on the podium with me is Representative Katie Dempsey, representing the people of District 13, Roma Amin, representing the House Budget and Research Office, and Daniel Beazle, representing the Senate Budget and Evaluation Office. R. Demetrius Taylor, Budget Director for the Department of Human Services, and Lee Wright, Chief Financial Officer for the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities. Before we get started, is there anyone who requires sign language interpreter services? Let the record reflect, before we get started, is there anyone who requires sign language interpreter services? Could y'all please close that door back there so we can hear better? If you do need services, please identify yourself so our interpreter can position themselves properly. Thank you for attending today's block grant hearing. The purpose of the hearing is to receive public comments on the use of 5 human services block grants that Georgia receives from the federal government. The hearing also provides the members of the Georgia legislature the opportunity to listen to the views of private citizens and other interested parties on how block grant funds should be used for state fiscal year 2016, which will begin July 1st, 2015. These block grants are Community Mental Health Block Grant, Community Services Block Grant, Low Income Energy Assistance Block Grant, Social Services Block Grant, Substance Abuse Prevention and Treatment Block Grant. Public input is an important aspect of the deliberative process that the Georgia legislature undertakes in making decisions about the state's budget. Thank you for taking the time to participate in this process. At this time, R. Demetrius Taylor will provide a brief summary of the grants and explain how we will proceed. Please welcome Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Senator Renee Unterman. As Senator Renee Unterman has told you, the Department of Human Services will receive public comments on 3 federal block grants today. By federal law, Georgia is required to hold public hearings on these grants. These 3 grants are the Community Services Block Grant, the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Block Grant, and the Social Services Block Grant. At this time, I will give you a brief overview of these grants. The Community Services Block Grant provides funds for services and activities that impact the causes of poverty and to assist low-income participants. These funds are distributed to local agencies throughout the state, and they fund wide ranges of services, including employment, education, nutritional meals, and housing services. The Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Block Grant provides cash assistance to qualified low-income households for home energy costs, weatherization costs such as caulking, installation, and weather stripping, to reduce energy consumption and for energy crisis intervention. Finally, the Social Services Block Grant provides various services such as daycare services for children, adults and persons with mental retardation, home-delivered meals, homemaker services, transportation, and protective services for adults and children. This grant also assists families to achieve and or maintain self-support and self-sufficiency. At this time, I will turn it over to Lee Wright with the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities, Director of Budget and Finance, and he will provide a list and a brief summary of his 2 grants. Thank you.
Thank you, Demetrius. The Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities will receive public comments on 2 federal block grants today. These 2 grants are the Community Mental Health Services Block Grant and the Substance Abuse Prevention and Treatment Block Grant. Here's a brief overview of each of these grants. First, the Community Mental Health Services Block Grant implements the provisions of the mental health state plan by providing services to individuals with a serious mental illness and to children with a serious emotional disturbance. And secondly, the Substance Abuse Prevention and Treatment Block Grant provides funds for community-based alcohol and drug treatment, prevention, and early intervention programs. Thank you. Now I'll turn it back over to Demetrius.
Thank you, Lee. More details of each of these grants, including the types of programs that can be funded and their proposed funding levels, are included in the color-coded pamphlets outside available on the table. Before receiving any comments, let me go over a few ground rules. We will take speakers in the order in which they sign up to speak. If you have not signed up, please do so outside at the table. Please give us your name and the name of the organization in which you represent. If we have two representatives from the same organization, I ask that you choose one to speak. By doing this, we will ensure that each organization and citizens get a fair chance to hear their comments. You will be given 5 minutes to present your comments. There's a timekeeper who will let you know when you have 1 minute left. I will initially call 2 speakers to the podium at a time. As the first speaker is speaking, the next speaker should be making their way to the podium. Then, as I call your name, please make your way to the podium. If you have any written comments of your record or a copy of your speech, you may leave it outside on the table. Now let us begin. No one? Okay. All right, is there anyone here that would like to speak today? No? Okay. Is there anyone here today that would like to speak, to comment?
Would you like to come to the podium?
Yes. Okay.
Where's the sign-up sheet? Do you have a sign-up sheet?
Yeah, we was outside at the time when nobody here.
Okay.
Come on up.
You want to come up and state your name and who you represent for the record?
Thank you for this opportunity to testify. I am Vicki Johnson, a volunteer serving as an appointed member and legislative chair of the Georgia Council on Aging. As part of its advisory responsibility to state government, the Council wishes to address the allocation of social services block grant funding for seniors. We have submitted a letter of testimony from our council to your committees. This letter can go to the committees. SSBG funds are allocated to local communities through contracts administered by the Division of Aging Services to provide services that enable older Georgians to continue living at home. Services such as home-delivered meals, homemaker assistance, adult daycare, caregiver respite care, and transportation can often delay or completely prevent costly nursing home placement. SSBG funds are also used to assist adults who are leaving institutional care to return to their communities under the federal Money Follows the Person program. On line 27.12, Elder Support Services, the FY 2015 budget includes a welcome $750,000 in SSBG funds for Meals for Seniors. This will bring a year of meals to approximately 350 seniors out of the 13,200 who are on the waiting list for services. As you can see, the need continues, and we would encourage your consideration of adding to this meal allocation in both the FY 2015A and the FY 2016 budgets. These meals make a big difference in the lives of grateful seniors. At a time such as now, when elder abuse is on the rise, SSBG monies go toward expanding the work of adult protective services. We are seeing a heightened focus from law enforcement on bringing elder abuse, neglect, and exploitation cases to prosecution. SSBG funding for APS makes a significant difference in Georgia's ability to prevent further elder victimization. SSBG funds also enhance the protection afforded to residents of long-term care facilities through the state's Long-Term Care Ombudsman program. We see three ways, then, that seniors benefit from SSBG funds. They can remain in their homes longer with the help of home and community-based services. They can be less likely to become victims of elder abuse, neglect, or exploitation, and they can have better protection while living in long-term care facilities. Georgia's older adult population is the fastest growing segment in the state, increasing by 45% in the last decade compared to 18% for the state as a whole and 15% for children under age 19. By using SSBG funds to provide these vital services, the state of Georgia can serve some of the most vulnerable among this elder population. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Okay. Would any member of the panel like to speak? All right. I'd like to thank Senator Renee Utterman, Representative Katie Dempsey, Representative Epps, House Budget and Research Office Ramona Amin, as well as Daniel Beazle with the Senate Budget and Evaluation Office. At this time, I turn it back over to Senator Renee Utterman.
Does anyone have anything else they'd like to add? Representative Dempsey? Thank you. Thank you for participating this year in the block grant programs and the public hearing. We appreciate it very much, and we'll see most of y'all on Monday.